Hey guys, and welcome back to Travis's Musings, episode 5. I hope you like some of the changes to the intro. I'm always doing and trying to improve the quality of the content and the medium with which I bring it to you guys, and I hope it's well received. So make sure, again, before we get started, if you haven't hit the subscribe button below, make sure you guys go ahead and click that. That way you'll always get updates on mine and Matt's videos. So in this video, I'm going to touch on a couple of different things. Primarily, we're going to be talking about how to use some of the files available on the Seasonal Strategies Facebook page. So if you're not a member of our Facebook group, come on over, search Seasonal Strategies on Facebook, and go ahead and request. Make sure you answer all 3 questions or you will not be allowed into the group. It kind of helps us filter people who they would join and they had no idea what they were joining, and this kind of gives people a primer and make sure they understand to begin their research at the start here button, which tends to be the number one question asked on the Facebook is, what do I do and how do I start? And something else I'm going to discuss today is we're going to talk about the frequently asked questions, and not all of them, just some of the ones that I am continually getting either through private message or through the Facebook TSPcalc group page, and hopefully, this is to repetitive education. We want everybody to be their own steward of their financial success, and education is key. We are not here to tell you what to do. And there seems to be a large portion of people who really want that. And I think it's important for everybody to take a step back and make sure you guys take control of your own retirement. We say this all the time, we're not fiduciaries. We are not financial experts. We are just a group of individuals who have come together under the umbrella of Matt's creation, who are really passionate about their own retirement and their own 401k. And we're here to help you get educated so you can make the right decisions on your own retirement, whether or not that's seasonal strategies or buy and hold or something in between. So again, educate yourself. And that's kind of a good segue into a topic that Matt posted about yesterday on the Facebook group. And it's been a topic of interest among the admins as we go into this new year. And there seems to have been a bit of a frenzy that has been created on the Facebook group. And we get it. We've been there. We've had a really successful year, 2017, where we crushed the buy and hold or the index funds from when we started in May and June all the way through the end of the year. And it's really easy to get excited, and it's really easy to look at these numbers and start planning. And I always say it all the time, but putting your down payment down on your yacht, and it's not realistic that we're going to continue to make 30% returns every year. And I know that some people believe that, and if you want to believe that, that's fine. But myself and the other admins think it's really unlikely. We're taking past trending results and we're applying them to the future. And while that we do believe that there are seasonal trends that we have exposed that will allow us to potentially beat buy and hold, there's no guarantees on that. And I think it's unrealistic that we're going to beat the market by 5, 10, 15, 20% every single year and until time on end. That being said, we do believe that this is a promising strategy, and we think it's a promising investment strategy in order to continue to better your own position. And at the very least, I think that it's really cool that a lot of people have become significantly more educated about their own future. It's one of my passions in life is to educate people and at least get people talking about money and finances and their future, because it's such a taboo subject in the United States. And it really shouldn't be, because it's really important. Financial health, and I'm not always the best steward of that. I've got plenty of toys that I don't need. But everybody's got to find that own balance between successful planning for their future and making sure that you don't live in a future that may or may not happen for you. You got to make sure you live in the moment too. And people can sometimes they can swing to either end of that pendulum and get themselves in trouble, or people can try to ride that line between the two, and it's hard. I mean, especially for a lot of you out there. I'm sure you guys have families and whatnot, and those are all things that factor in. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into some of the common frequently asked questions that I see pop up all the time on the Facebook group. The number one question I get that's not related to the why haven't I received my SMS text alert is, do I need to move 100% of my funds into the seasonal recommendation for my strategy? And the answer is no, you don't have to. But the strategies were developed with that in mind. But there are a variety of individuals who are utilizing seasonal strategies, and they may have 50% of their funds in the C fund, and they're using the other 50% to follow the strategy. So again, it's a very personal decision, and you have to decide if the risk value associated with seasonal strategies is something that you want to partake in going forward. Jaron had a pretty good post the other day about contribution allocations. And now, the only thing I'll say about Jaron's post, if you didn't see it, last year Jaron and I were discussing, I was leaving all my contributions in G after I screwed up and didn't move my IFT, and I did. Anyways, so I had started having all my contributions going to G, and Jaron and I noticed that over time, he was getting closer and closer to me as he was catching up to me at the time, and which is usually the case with Jaron. He's usually behind trying to catch me. But his contribution allocations were actually helping because they were performing better than the G fund. And now that was such a small sample size, I don't know. But if it is a logical thought process is that we believe in seasonal strategies to be the better fund most of the time, that contribution allocations should follow your IFTs. It literally takes 10 extra seconds to do a contribution allocation. Now, the only thing I'll say is make triple sure that you have made both an IFT and a contribution allocation. It's really easy to look. You can click into a different tab on your TSP.gov, click back into IFTs, and it should across the top say pending IFT, and it'll actually say down in the table what your new allocation is going to be. So if you're going to do that, make sure you double check and do both. I do both. Jaron does both. Some other people just go to G, and that's all fine. I mean, your funds will be moved with your next IFT. So again, contribution allocation is also kind of a personal matter. If you get down to the nitty gritty, I think it's probably better to do your contribution allocation with your IFT, but it's not something that's absolutely required or by any stretch of the imagination. So again, we still get questions about why people aren't receiving text alerts or email alerts. And the answer to that question is most likely because you have not added a strategy to your watch list, in which case go ahead on the right here and click the Travis's Musings watch list edition, and you'll go ahead and see a kind of a quick walkthrough on how to add that. And make sure that you have your SMS, text message, phone number verified. I have talked to multiple customers who did not have their text message verified. It took them 2 seconds, and they were right in the game. So double check those things. You can look at those things under your My Account on your TSPcalc membership page. And if you're not a TSPcalc member, it's $20 for the year, and you get IFT alerts for your chosen strategy either through text message or through email. And in addition to that, you do get access to the color calendars and the trading day comparison, which a lot of people think is really cool, including myself. And it keeps Matt beer in Matt's fridge, which we need to keep Matt a little bit drunk so that he keeps providing this for such a reasonable rate. So anyways, another thing that's kind of cropped up this week is Matt did do a little bit of programming. And so we had some bugs come through after that, which is inevitable. Every time we do a change to try to update something, we're going to get a couple different bugs. And I just wanted to say thank you to all those individuals who reported the bugs to me or Matt. it really helps Matt get back in there and kind of fix the coding errors where he may, and we don't know about them unless you guys report them. So if you guys find those, feel free to email the customer service at TSPcalc.com. And if it's something that I can't take care of, I'll go ahead and elevate that up to Matt. And again, you guys can send myself a private message on Facebook or to the TSPcalc Facebook group. I'm pretty quick to respond, usually within a couple hours at the most. And if it's something that I can't handle, I will escalate that to Matt to address. So let's go ahead now. And those are kind of the main frequently asked questions that we see all the time. And I think this might be a running theme going forward is kind of addressing those. Let's go ahead and flop over to the desktop and we'll take a look at some of the documents available on the Seasonal Strategies Facebook page. Okay guys, so the first document that I'm going to kind of discuss is the one that took me a little bit more work to kind of figure out. Thankfully, Brian's got a pretty good how-to, and we'll go ahead and take a look at how this is by far the most accurate PIP calculator that I've seen. This does a really good job, especially if you've got consistent deposit dates on your contributions. It really narrows it down to, I think, within about 0.1%. We've found. So on the left column here, on column A, you'll see that we have all of the months of the year, and Brian is working on an updated version that we can continue to put these in. It will be a rolling 12-month PIP. We'll see if he can get his Excel math wizarding skills on board for that one. So on the B column here, these are just the days in the month. And of course, we'll get to add an extra day here in February of 2020 as we roll into a leap year. And on the third column here, we get the monthly contribution amount. And the fourth column is going to be a calculated amount. And actually, I guess C is a calculated amount too. This goes ahead and adds your cash flow options. And then E is your ending balance. And this D number down here at the bottom, your year-to-date PIP return, 33.83 is what we've got in here for these numbers. So the most important thing to remember is in column E. So for the balance for January, this is just going to be your overall ending balance on January 31st. Same here in February. This is your ending balance for February. And you can get these numbers off of the activity summary. You can go ahead, like for January, you would put activity summary from dates January 1st, 2019 to January 31st, 2019. And scroll down to the bottom. And sometimes I think if you're on mobile or on the computer, there may be a plus sign to open for the specifics with that month, and it should give you your starting balance, your contributions, your gains, and your current balance on there. And so the current or the ending balance for January 31st is what you want to put in this column here, which would be E5. So F, I, L, and so forth, these are cash flow options. So I have 2 contributions a month going in. And mine are a little bit wonky, so I kind of estimated it here for the 6th of the month and the 20th of the month. And so that got it pretty close. A couple of these actually had 3 contributions. I just averaged them out and divided by 2 just for simplicity's sake. But if you know what day your contribution is, say it comes in, the 5th of every month, you can go ahead and put the 5th here, your contribution amount, and then if you have a second contribution on the 20th, you can put these. I think a lot of military members have a single deposit at the beginning of the month. If that's the case, it's really easy. You can just go ahead and put the first here, and then your total contribution amount. And then Brian's formulas that are already built in do all of the math for you based on compounding interest right up until the day that was deposited. And so it gets you a really accurate PIP, even more accurate than the second overall spreadsheet I'm going to show you. Some things you may want to use single-use items for over here is, for example, if you had we'll call it a $1,000, so you can watch the numbers over here change. But say this is, like I said, these larger columns are for cash flow columns. So say you had a $1,000 loan repayment that you paid off a loan in June of 2019. and say you did it on the 5th of that month, it's going to change the numbers over here because, of course, your ending balance is not going to be as pretty because that $1,000 was not gains. It was essentially a contribution. So, and let's go ahead and see if we can get this percentage here to change by changing the deposit date. Let's go towards the end. There we go. So I changed it to the 30th, and so that actually changed his compounding interest for the month because it was deposited way later in the month, so it wasn't affecting the ending balance as much as it was. So again, Brian did a really good job setting this formula up. It's really easy, and like I said, it is by far the most accurate PIP calculator that I have seen floating around between the various TSP groups. So okay, so the second spreadsheet we're going to talk about today is the one that Sean built, which is a upgraded and cleaned up version of the one I uploaded, and he did a really nice job on this. I'm pretty sure that I'm actually going to take this now and change all my stuff from my spreadsheet over and use this one just because it's really clean and it looks pretty nice. So essentially, the only numbers that you need to change when you do your updating on this are going to be the monthly percentages and the TSP deposits and the gain or loss year to date, which are these two columns here, and then of course these columns on the left. So you can see he does have this set as yearly, and he has it out till 2030. And some of us, myself included, are going to need to add a few more years on there, which is not too big of a deal. You can just go ahead and, for example, here on 23, you can right click, put insert in, and we'll go ahead and insert a year. And you can actually just take this all the way over to this column here. Actually, time out. You can actually take this all the way over here. So it includes this guy. And you can scroll that right down here and adds an extra column, and that copies all of the formulas down. So Sean put some macros here in the R column and in the O column, which is your starting balance and TSP balance. And so when you update these numbers here, it goes ahead and updates the associated TSP balance versus starting balance. So there's three independent formulas set up here. We have our monthly, which, for example, I had already been playing with this a little bit, but you could put 0.02, which would be a 2% January, and it automatically updates the compounding for the year to date to 3.03%. In addition, we can do some things here. 2020, you can come on over to the second column, which is the financial column here, and again, leave the O and the R columns alone, and you can update your TSP deposit, say $1,000 year to date, and say you've got $1,500 in gain, and everything updates across the board. Now these will autofill down because of the formula base, but really the only year you care about is the current, obviously. So again, in summary on this section is that you can get your monthly percentage, and that's the way that I get mine is I do the activity summary, and I use my gains divided by the starting balance for the month. Now, that's not as accurate as Brian's PIP because that actually finds the exact day you deposited your contributions and factors those into the PIP calculator. This is a pretty accurate, especially I had an earlier video talking about this, I believe in my Travis's Musings number 4, where we talk about compounding interest, maybe 3. And the monthly is pretty accurate. The PIP is really accurate that Brian created, but this is pretty good to kind of track your overall stuff. As we scroll to the right here, you can see that there's also this section here where we can update the year-to-date of all of the funds. And down here, it gives us an automatic macro associated with your year-to-date percentage versus the index funds. So for example, I can come down here, though I don't know if these are updated, N11. So these are not updated for 2020, so you would need to change these here. You can come right on up to this formula. You can see in each of these that you click, it's got the N11, which is your year-to-date percentage. This one is set obviously for 2019, and you can change that. All these numbers here, all these 11s here to 12s, and that will go ahead and update your formula to the current year. And you can take those across the board here. So I should be able to take this. Oops. Should be able to click on this button down here, drag it all the way across. And yeah, this went ahead and updated, of course, but we don't have any values in there yet. So if you went ahead and to 0.001, oops, or 002, 0.002, 0.002, QT. Oops, nope, that's not going to be right. So we actually need to change this. We need to go back here. Oops. So we changed the G. We need to change this one to N12. Might have to do these manually. N12 and T12 here. Sorry about that. N12 and U12 and 11 or N12 and V12, and of course N12 minus V. Oops, it's 12. So none of those are in there yet. So and N12 minus W12. Okay. So those formulas are all created, and we can then go to the 12 column, and you can even put 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And as you can see, that updates the year-to-date for 2020. And so that's pretty much it on this calculator, guys. It's pretty simple. Just like Brian's, all of the macros are built in. And so your work that you're going to be doing is pretty minimal, but it's a really good way to continue to track your own progress. Again, the only thing that's probably the most difficult is getting your year-to-date or your month-to-date percentage. Again, these are all set for January through December, and for 2020, which is this column here, column 12, you'll want to go to activity summary, go the start of the month to the current day, and then you can take your gains divided by your starting balance, ignoring contributions, which of course introduces a little bit of error, but it's pretty close. My 2019 was within 0.3% of the actual my actual PIP for the year. So that wraps up about the most common spreadsheets that we have that have been supplied. Okay guys, and that wraps up my Travis's Musings number 5 video this week. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of mine or Matt's future videos. Good luck this year. This is 2020 just kicked off, and we are already looking promising right out the gate, despite the fact that I did happen to slip behind Jaron by about 0.25%. There's still a lot of year left, and so as always guys, make sure we beat Jaron.